Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Scott Garber riding solo in the saddle today as my man Andrew Petcash is making his way down to St. Petersburg, Florida, relocating in the pocket down here with me. But in the meantime, we're going to be running another podcast with my man Hank Leber, the founder of League of Play. I'm excited to dive into this one, both on the personal journey and where the space is going in this creator market as it expands. But without further ado, Hank, my man, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I got the right amount of coffee in me. Excited to talk. Love what you guys are doing with Profluence and love being a part of the community.
Man, back at you, and it's exciting to get to meet folks like yourself that are pushing the boundaries, I think is maybe the way to preface this call as to where the sports ecosystem is going, looking at it through a different lens, and creating new opportunities that speak to a new consumption behavior of, generations younger than millennials. So, Hank, just give the audience a little background on yourself and how you sort of landed with League of Play.
Great. So I'm a advertising executive turned entrepreneur. So I was, in the ad agency space over a decade ago. And in advertising, it's understanding culture and being able to translate that culture for brands so that they can be relevant in culture and help, consumers understand the truth about the brand and if it's right for you. So that's what I've been doing traditionally. And then in the startup world, it's actually quite similar, only instead of making ads, which are the interruptions to the things you're doing, it's making the things. Technology startups, whatever. So literally inventing something out of scratch to put into culture, to communicate and help others do things better in their lives. So that my background was that, got into the technology world out of advertising in 2011, which was a really interesting time. Social media was changing literally the conversation and how brands communicate in culture. Instagram had $1 billion sale to Facebook that year or the year after. And we really started to see like fast, rapid changes in communication. And so I wound up starting several companies in the B2C communication space, and then also in the B2B sort of marketing communication space, like what can be done on channels like social media to help communicate with people better. But mostly that's interesting to people. Anyways, that wound up starting several companies and had one exit of a marketing tech company that we pivoted to an agency and sold the agency. So it was one that we knew we needed humans more than tech for that one. And then eventually wound up working in the creator space, built a company called Gigster, Giggster. And that is a marketplace for production locations. It's like Airbnb for film shoots. And that had product market fit pretty quickly and wound up being a go-to for a lot of content creators over the past 4 or 5 years. A lot of larger YouTube groups and creators use Gigster to find locations for their videos. And that's when it kind of blew my mind. I was a little bit older than most content creator audiences, but I was like, wow, people have millions of avid fans. And I was made aware of the content creator space and creator economy as an older guy. Literally just like early 30s is too old. I was too old already. So anyways, fast forward to today. One of the investors in Gigster was a guy named Ben Grubbs. He was the global director of top creator partners at YouTube, who had seen the front lines of the creator space from 2012 and on up. And he was seeing 2-3 years out. And he said, look, like creators competing is a thing, And I was aware of things like pay-per-view boxing matches with Jake Paul and Logan Paul, things like that. But it turns out creator groups like the Sidemen out in the UK would fill a 27,000 capacity stadium for one soccer game, creators playing creators. And it was like, whoa, that's a lot of cultural signal here. What's going on there? And we dug deeper and deeper and found that there's this whole world of desire from culture for seeing my favorite heroes as a Gen Z or even Gen Alpha. My heroes are creators. They're not sports stars anymore. But if you put them in sporting environments, people show up by the millions. They go to stadiums and fill the stadiums by the tens of thousands. And it's like, all right, well, where's the organizational layer to that? Where's the structure? It's these one-offs, a one-off soccer game, one-off boxing, one-off, one-off, one-off. And it's like, where's the, league for that? And League of Play was born. So League of Play is the organizational layer around creator competitions. So we feature top online creators, mostly YouTubers, but Twitch, TikTok, all of that is fair game. And what we do is we have live streamed sport tournaments these top creators, and the sporting games, let's say it's like we did a ping pong tournament, dodgeball, golf, pickleball, all of that, approachable sports. And you can watch your favorite creators playing it. And we have the sports be live interactive so that as a viewer, you can vote live on distractions to come into the players or power-ups or contests that are live and happening. So it's live interactive sporting featuring top creators. And that combination right there, we believe is a whole new category of sports plus entertainment, sports entertainment. And from the very inception of the company, we've seen that Andrew and Profluence have been on this trend. And it's very true. It's very exciting because things are happening fast. We're seeing a lot of other sporting plays come up in the creator space and just competitions in general. And we see this as kind of a new way to define what sports means for the next generations, which is a big part entertainment, and the sport is actually secondary. So I'll stop there for a second. That's the overview to today, pretty much.
Which is super interesting. And, I want to go a layer deeper in a couple of different ways. But, I think let's start like as you're carving out this new category, right? There really is no framework to sort of build around. When we look at traditional leagues, we've seen them forever sort of operate in their silos. Investments have been more trophy assets. But as the asset class of sports opens up, we see new opportunities like League of Play present themselves. Educate us a little bit on what it's been like to, lay this foundational layer and then go to market and raise capital against something that we haven't really seen to date. What's that experience been like?
It's been wild in a word, because I've started 4 or 5 companies and raised venture for each of them. And you go back to that audience again with this product. It was not an immediate, oh my God, that's amazing. And investment comes in by the millions, like one might think. So we had to learn early on what is different about this and the funding environment. How are they looking at an opportunity like this? And what we found is, let's see if we can condense some feedback. When we were talking with investors early on, they're like, well, how do you make money? And just real quickly to go through that, we have tournaments that are on one top creator's channel, like a creator, a YouTuber with 10 million subscribers hosts League of Play Dodgeball. And then when they go live, 10 million people get the notification, like several million just show up. So it's automatic millions of Gen Z audience. From there, we can license goods to sell. So the jerseys, athleisure, apparel, sporting goods, food and beverage, anything. We have the audience. So like it's our opportunity to lose. So digital goods, physical goods, subscription for training content, behind the scenes, whatever, all of that stuff. There's actually a lot of revenue angles. Then you can look at parallels with the NFL, the NBA, MLS. And what we got back early on was venture capitalists going, that doesn't seem very focused, all those revenue streams. And it's like, what? Okay, but we have the audience. Like our pilot ping pong tournament did 1.1 million unique viewers. That's bigger than an NBA game on TV. So like, what's our business model? It's like literally everything that comes from having an audience to monetize. But that early on really fell on deaf ears because we didn't have like a technology product that had users and a churn rate and a growth rate and month over month and quarter over quarter for this and then ARPU. And we didn't have that established. And that's what all the investors seem to want. So what we realized was the standard traditional venture capitalist investor is probably not the supporter of some of these new leagues, but it's really new media, technology, and the content plays in culture. So what is that? That's actually more relevant to current pro team owners who have really good optics into the business of an NFL team. But they also, most of these family offices have a portfolio of 10, 20 other businesses, and all of them are looking for Gen Z audience by the millions. They're already running business. And they understand that having 3, 4 revenue streams that all work together is actually really valuable. Sure. But they don't have an investment council and an IRR and all of this stuff. They have just knowledge in culture of sports. And the problem with Gen Z, which is that they're not watching as much sport on television as traditionally other generations have. So what we realized was what we're doing is not the next hot tech company that goes pre-seed, seed A, B, C. It's not actually. Like we get to market with what we're doing. We should be cash flow positive quickly and just invest in our own growth like a creator has been doing for the past 10 years. If you look at the top creators out there, they're not venture backed.
Yeah.
Venture doesn't understand that stuff. Yet, I'll tell you, I don't think it's a secret. A top YouTuber that has like 10, 15 million subscribers and is active and has good engagement, and they have, a clothing, maybe they have a product like a t-shirt line or something like that, and other brand collaborations. That one creator is making $5 to $15 million a year as a business.
Wow.
No venture backing. Where's the venture money? I still don't know. The forward-facing venture money, because right now you have JellySmack and Spotter and these others that'll buy your back catalog from you for the forward-facing 10 years of revenue that will come from what's already there. But like, where are the plays in the creator space of the next few years? And I still think that means the creator space is kind of nascent in that way. But that's a long way to say what we found the audience to be is not standard venture capital. Even the creator economy focused venture capital, they're investing in like tech tools to empower creators to understand their audience more, yada, yada, $8 a month. And that is hard. That's hard because creators don't want to spend money on that stuff. They want to make good content and make money for their business. So we found that we're actually much more of a meat and potatoes kind of company that makes sense to the family offices that see the tremendous value of having an owned audience in competitions, being able to monetize in a bunch of different ways, because fanship is the point. Fanship is the point. So anyways, that's what we found so far. And we're excited because the investors, we have raised a pre-seed round and finishing up our seed round now. The investors that we have on board get that. And it's so nice to have excited strategic helpers with us versus just being treated like another portfolio company that's got some metrics to measure monthly. Like we have very important metrics to keep an eye on, but we're going somewhere that's really exciting. Like it's changing the game. No pun intended.
Fundamentally.
And so it's been really nice to see supporters like that. And I think there'll be more of that in the future here as we see these different approaches in the market come to be.
No, it's really cool. And I mean, look at, we watch in the more traditional sport leagues, fan engagement is one of the biggest problems and nuts to crack in this, right? Whether that is from, on premise at stadium or fundraising, like we're watching all these different modalities to try and brings the fans together. I think you guys have flipped the script on its head, right? And so it's a different funnel, but you're direct to the end user now, which I think creates tremendous opportunities. And coming from the advertising world, I think it also starts to box out some of these larger brands that would pay to get access to all these millions of eyeballs. And you start to take like a prime example and start to create this IP, as you were alluding to, and now have it all be in-house. And so before we get there, I'm really curious, just because this happened a couple of weeks ago, let's talk about the Creator Classic that rolled on the PGA side. For someone that's building the infrastructure of, these events to happen over and over again at scale, was that an accelerant to your business and the fundraising process? Did that start to make more sense to folks that might have been on the, teetering on the edge, or what was the response once we saw it on like the national linear scale there?
Yep, that's great. Yeah, Creator Classic was a really good proof point to the insights that we've been operating on for over a year now, is that the creator class and the fans that they already have are really valuable in culture. And to see where were the partners there, PGA, Blackstone, Pro Shop, to be able to put that on, that's a lot of validation for the space, which is great. The part that is also part and parcel with that is it didn't look very much like a YouTube video. It didn't really have the elements that you would normally see in a creator content. So that's going to figure itself out. So it was interesting to see. It's almost like a pendulum. We've got like really wild creator stuff that's happening only on YouTube that does get millions of viewers. But then over here, you've got stuff that's showing up on Peacock and going to start showing up more on broadcast. Will the creatorness of the content travel over with it? It kind of has to. So will it? How long will that take? And I think we're going to see more of those kind of things happening. You'll see them popping up on major broadcasts now. We under the behind closed doors, we know that those things are in process, because the big so what here is that the creators have audiences so big that they are each their own media channel with their own fanship for their own reasons. And you need to tap into that, because you can't entice Gen Z to come over and watch your television show with ads about the show. It just doesn't work. That's not what they want. So give them what they want. Creator Classic was a good example of put the creators on the course, play the golf,
Yep.
and film it like a golf show. And then we'll see how that does. And there were some good things about that, and there's some things that'll be improved on the next iterations. And we're excited to be a part of that as well. I think golf is a very exciting sport right now, especially in the creator space. And there's a lot, I mean, you can look at any of the major sports and see a great angle for what Gen Z wants out of that sport. That is not what the current, mainstream is doing. I think golf is a great example of that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, as you alluded to, there's multiple sports that start to fit that bucket. I want to go, sort of through your lens here, right? As we come in and start to disrupt, what has you most excited about this on the horizon? More specifically on the Gen Z side, are you picking up on any trends, patterns, buying behavior that, we can't necessarily see because we're so in the weeds of maybe, targeting a different generation, millennials and older? Like, give us some insights into what it's like, trying to go downstream into that generation.
That's a great question. The most exciting thing for us is the full understanding of how different Gen Z are as an entire generation of humans and all the rest to come, Gen A and whatever comes after Gen A, which is, Gen Z is, 13 to 28 by most measures right now in studies. That means that at 28 years old, you never knew a world that didn't have smartphones, social media, internet, all of that, like literally from the beginning of your memories. The rest of us that are older than that, 30 and above, didn't even get social media till you were maybe a teenager or 20s or later, which means you build a whole personality without it, and then you added that stuff in. These people have it in their core, in their DNA. So when you are the first really true digital native, what does that change about your entire consumerism? Turns out it changes a lot. You can read studies about attention spans getting shorter. I don't think that's what it is. They'll watch a 3-hour live stream of somebody playing a video game. They might be doing 5 other things, but like it's about what I want to be paying attention to, not that it has to be a bunch of different things. And creators are relatable. I can see myself in that person because Mr. Beast is just like a dude, not really particularly attractive or charismatic. Don't tell him I said so, but like, it's not like he's the prettiest man in the world. He's just a really interesting guy doing his own thing, and look where he's taken himself. Apply that to the other 1,100 creators on YouTube that have more than 10 million subscribers. They're heroes to Gen Z because that's what they want. They want to believe in themselves and their lives, and that makes their fanship very deep, very deep. I don't know, I grew up, I'm older than Gen Z, and my heroes were like sports stars and maybe some movie stars, or more sports stars, because you could hope that you might be that good at the sport with them. But with Gen Z, it's more about identifying with the human. And then that's why we think it's so interesting when you add sports and competitions to it, it makes explosions. The examples that are really illustrative of how deep this fanship goes is a few times you've seen now. One of the big ones was Mr. Beast tweeted out, "Hey, I'm at the mall grabbing something," or whatever, and 10,000 people showed up at the mall. And that was interesting. All of us were like, whoa, okay. And then I'm sure you guys saw this headline. Kai Cenat did something similar, popular on Twitch and YouTube. He's doing a live stream, and he said, "Hey, everybody, I'm going to flash a picture on the screen, and y'all meet me out there in a little bit, and I'm going to be giving away video game consoles." And he flashed a picture of Union Square in New York, very obvious open area. And that created a mob scene that wound up, he got arrested for inciting a riot because thousands of people showed up. They started messing with cars and creating a riot scene from one creator just saying something that most people had never heard of. So that happened. And then what was it, 3 months later, Nike signed him. So it was athlete, Kai Cenat. And I think we're just seeing that happen because it turns out Gen Z wants a whole bunch of different things that aren't the standard heroes, the standard icons, and you have to lean into it, because if you don't, it'll just be a path of less and less relevance to Gen Z. And what is actually the most exciting thing is how fast this stuff can happen, because you have a direct line to the fans and can put out a video tomorrow that has 2 million concurrents watching it and 25 million people watch it the next day. There's nothing stopping that to happen. 5-10 years ago, And for the 80 years before that, it would require months and months of planning to be able to do that, unless you're the president of the United States and go live with some important announcement. Right now, every creator has as much impact as the damn president on television. Right now, what is that going to do to culture? I think transformation is going to be faster than anyone can even fathom. And we're in it right now. So that's what's mostly exciting, is how fast this stuff is moving on the backs of thousands of media channels that are currently operating on their own.
It's so widely dispersed. I think that's one of the most unique things about it, is where is the center of truth, right? And like, these sports leagues became centers of truth. And now we have creators that everyone on the phone or on this call doesn't know, but they have more influence and reach than some small countries, which I just find to be so fascinating. Hank, let's talk real quick, sort of where you guys sit in this ecosystem, right? And how we're watching the migration. I believe we talked about like passive viewing to interactive viewing, and like there's different iterations along the way. So like if we think about like an overtime elite, right? They took traditional athletes, they built the media asset and sort of sit in the middle there. Do you see more of the trend moving to more of this interactive viewing sphere, or like what are you seeing outside of League of Play in this space?
Yep. So I'm going to actually answer your question a little differently as to what is evident in culture of the past that is likely in the culture of today and into the future. Let's do that. Instead of what is being done right now, because I think what we're doing is a bit different. And the best analogy that we have is to look at what Red Bull has done over the past 30 years. So they're an iconic brand, globally very well known. Red Bull is a brand that has an ethos, and that ethos allows for sports to be within their brand, right? So it's like adrenaline fueled, extreme was what they called it back in the day, right? And so within Red Bull, you have a lot of different sports. There's dozens of them now, but like the big ones: motocross, airplane racing, build your own airplane, jump out of a spaceship down to Earth, Formula One, and now they're creating their own supercar. That all works with the Red Bull brand. Red Bull has a media ecosystem of tons of content and ways to engage in that, from live contests to big tournaments to one-offs, all of that, right? They also have they have apparel, they have an iconic sort of athleisure line, and they got one hell of a beverage. But Red Bull has existed in culture in that way. League of Play is similar, to where we're a brand that has an ethos around it, and that ethos is fun, engaging competitions that I could probably do, but I'm watching my heroes do it. So drop in dodgeball, golf, pickleball, whatever. So that's where we live. We have an entire media ecosystem in that the tournament itself, millions of viewers, but all of the content, the shoulder content leading up to a tournament, learning how to play pickleball, Drive to Survive style content, Hard Knocks. Then we have the entire ESPN of what we're doing, all of the highlights, recaps, top 10s, bottom 10s, remixes, all of that. That's all there for the taking if you have the big tournaments, which is what we have. So we look at it as actually similar to Red Bull of now and the future, which is not going to be the same. I think for us and the live interactive part, that's the big difference. I'm playing along. League of Play in the brand. We've chosen that name because the creators want more plays on their videos. They're playing a sport that you're watching. You're also playing along as a fan, and it's all playful. So that's the design of it, is that it's a very playful approach that is interactive, that borrows the best of the video gaming world, the video game live streaming world, the sports world, and the creator world. Because most of our players are entertainment-based creators. They're not sports stars, because that's not the point. Yeah. It isn't the point. The Creator Classic was not a bunch of top golfers, just really good ones. And that's actually what Gen Z wants, is entertainment out of the competition, not the very best. We just had the Olympics. That's fine. We know who the best are. We'll watch it 4 years from now. This is much more about, I'm enjoying watching who's going to win this because I really like that guy or that girl and who they are. So that's our world. Overtime's great. They've raised a ridiculous amount of money to stand up a brand that's around athleticism and sport people and all of that. And that's great. We're not that. And I really don't want to draw a parallel to them, because they're doing something else in some other part of culture that is great for them. I'm sure they have an awesome, slide deck about it, but we're looking at like Gen Z and what they want. And if you look at Overtime's content on their YouTube channels, it's a bunch of like show content about the behind the scenes, like drama, like soap opera kind of stuff. And so they're already showing that it's not just about sports, it's got to be about other stuff. And for us, we really think the storytelling of getting into a sport, interacting with the lineups and things like that are going to be very interesting, and what Gen Z really wants to see more than anything else.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch the NFL and Nickelodeon come together and have a baby, right? Like we're watching the big behemoths try to iterate to capture that market. It's really neat to hear it from the horse's mouth on how you guys are building it. So, give us a little glimpse into, what's next to maybe close out 2024 in Hank's world and League of Play.
Yep, for sure. So we found that the creator sports ecosystem is super nascent still. And what we want to do is bring formats in that have durability, that are entire series, like multiple tournaments and events leading toward a championship versus just random one-offs that are like ping pong, dodgeball, whatever. Like we want to have some fun with those things, but we also see in some of these sports, flag football and the exciting future that they have, golf that we've talked about, things like that, soccer, like those are great durable formats that can have a lot of playfulness in them without screwing up the integrity of the sport. So we're almost ready to talk about our launch, but expect that that's what's going to come, is some really exciting series formats with some really big creators. And I can't say more than that right now. We're very excited though.
We had to go ahead and bump you up to the cliff for the next one. So more to come in part 2 on that. Hank, I'm going to sort of bring us home with this question, and then we'll open it up, if anybody has further questions for Hank. But I'm always curious, like when we look at traditional leagues, we know where to go source talent. We understand sort of what the rules of engagement looks like. If I want to sign a player, you come through a draft, etc. How are you guys finding the right YouTube talent? Is there agents involved? Is there a structure? Are you helping the development side of this? Give us a little insight into like the grassroots development on like not just the creators we know now, but like what this looks like for a sustainable ecosystem.
Yeah, that's great. So we found there's a mix. We found that the universal truth is creators are always hungry for new formats of content that they can put out on their channels. That's actually one of the hardest parts about being a great creator, is you have to keep it new and interesting all the time, like literally every week. And so our formats, there's been a lot of inbound interest in working with us because our format is a really interesting take on a sport or on a live event with new rules and live interactive. All that is really attractive to the top creators. So we were pleased to see a lot of inbound interest from some of the biggest names in the world who can do whatever they want. They have a multi-million-dollar business with teams of 20, 30 people, yet they want to work with us because we put on a very big production that's like TV quality, but still in the spirit of creators. And so the opportunities wound up being sometimes to collaborate with a top creator or creators that have a concept they really want to bring to life in sport because they know their audience, they want to do that. So there is co-creation that we are doing with some creators. And then on the other side, there's like golf, soccer, basketball, these kind of things that are tried and true. And what we do is we design the experience and find the creators that want to be a part of that, which has also been a really fruitful experience, that it's not very hard to get that kind of participation. You asked about managers and agents. They're in there often just to make sure they understand what the business opportunity is for a creator that's participating. And, I don't think it's a trade secret for us. Our lineups of creators will participate in the upside of the sales of like jerseys and things like that with their name on the back, like you see with the NFL, NBA. So that there's a business part of it that the agents and managers are involved in, but we really love getting face to face with the creators and hearing their ideas and what makes them excited, because we exist as a business for happy creators that want to be playing and keep coming back and doing that with us, and happy fans that want to show up and watch and play along. Once we're doing those things right, everything else is fine. Like the fanship is so strong for the creators themselves and for our brand that we just need happy creators and happy fans. So it's been highly collaborative, and we definitely do not want to be dictatorial to them, because that's not the point. The point is happy people and culture on the supply and demand side, creators and their fans.
I don't know about you guys, man, but like, I mean, Hank, you dropped some absolute nuggets. I can't wait to tune in. I can't wait to participate. And honestly, I can't wait for this lane of sports to continue to evolve. You know, it opens up new opportunities for service providers, infrastructure. Like it just, I think it's good for the ecosystem and you know, let's face it, in a world where we demand content, like this produces it at scale. And so this is really cool. You know, just with a few minutes left, going to open it up. I know we have a few folks that have fallen off. Randy, go ahead, buddy. Floor is yours.
This is a strange question, and I'm kind of being silly, Hank. Thank you for your time. But in the last season of the HBO show called Ballers, there was a company called Sports X. And as you were describing what you do, I was envisioning that your offices would look like that because they were bringing in content creators. They were having them play video games live and they were streaming it. So I would say kudos because that was make believe. This is real.
Well, I got to say, thank you for that. I admittedly have been founding a startup for the past year, so I haven't watched much TV at all. I will definitely put that on the weekend watch to check it out. At least
so it's a good show early, but in the later season, when they create this company called Sports X, you know that expression, it had jumped the shark?
Yeah.
It was already over. So, but anyway, Sports X was the name of this fictitious company. And great job, man. This was terrific today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Super cool. Mark, I know you're building in this space. Anything top of mind for you?
Yeah. Hey, Hank. My name is Mark. I'm the founder of House Pickleball. We're a paddle and lifestyle brand based in New York City. So I'm 28 years old. So I'm at that upper end of Gen Z, but I'm like still, you know, I'm right on that border between Gen Z, millennial. So I get both sides. And everything you said, just absolute like money. Like it's really exciting. I, as a brand, want to figure out how to, yes, get on this wave. We've done a lot of like NIL collaborations with the athletes, which have been great, mostly in the form of, you know, like static posts, like them posing with our paddles, and it's been awesome. But I also see so much potential in like content, storylines. Pickleball is like the perfect kind of arena for, as you said, like a game that doesn't take itself too seriously. We don't have to worry too much about like the integrity of the game. And I'm trying to create kind of these threads like through our content. Right now it's just me doing like the brand building public stuff. But yeah, I guess what would be like how can we get involved? Like how can we kind of activate like these creators to like really like be a part of like the brand and like the story?
Yeah, that's great. And pickleball is close to our heart. We've been talking about the pickleball opportunity for a while now. What we see is that pickleball, I mean, I don't want to mischaracterize it here, but just culturally, it seems that pickleball kind of started with an older group and it caught on there. And then it's sort of like trickling down into the younger group, which is fine. But if you're trying to get, and we've talked with MLP and PPA about this, like if you are trying to get like mass viewership on this sport, it's not going to come from the older generations and any media associated with them. You're seeing like what is the Pickleball Clash or Smash or whatever it was, John McEnroe and like Agassi and stuff, like that's cool. But over here in the creator space, we know that top creators in LA have their own little pickleball like club party they do on Saturdays. What an opportunity to be able to shed light on the sport from the bottom up, younger people seeing that. And we think that's an opportunity that is, I think, is going to be critical to pickleball's success, whether it's with league or play or not, is to figure out what lights up and motivates that younger crowd. And it's not pointing to a few college age players and a couple of high schoolers. That's not it. It's like, who are the heroes and the icons? Bring them into the sport. They're heroes and icons of culture, because right now the professional leagues are barely known in pickleball. And it's like, because that's not the point. The point is a fun sport that anybody can pick up and go do and have a good time with it. How could it even be more relevant to Gen Z? So I think it's a good time for pickleball in this coming year as the leagues are united now. I think it's a good time to do it. We should catch up after this call and talk about ways to do that together. Actually.
Definitely.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
I'll make sure you guys get connected, and I'll open it up if there is one more. If not, you know, Hank, we know you're busy, man, and we appreciate your time. We'll cut this in at the end, but if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to learn more about League of Play? If they're interested in investing or, you know, moving forward, give us the best ways to go ahead and do that.
Yep, sure. So we are pre-launch. So you'll find at leagueofplay.com a landing page with a sign up. If you want to know what's going on, that's the easiest way to do it, to know what's coming next. I'll put it out there. I'm sure I'll get a bunch of spam now if the internet is listening. I'm hank@leagueofplay.com. Hit me up if you want to know more about what we're doing. Happy to talk about it. Obviously, I can talk nonstop about it. Very excited about what we're doing and the energy that comes from other people that are excited. It's so energizing for us.
No, I mean, we feel it through the screen, and I think that's the hardest part when you do this virtually. It can be really melancholy, or when people are genuinely passionate about it. Hank, we're thrilled to be part of the ride. The team you've assembled, the lane you're carving out, we couldn't be bigger supporters of. So thank you for what you're doing, how you're doing it, and look forward to part 2 so that we can go a look under the hood and talk more League of Play in the future.
Can't wait for that. Thank you
Awesome.
guys so much for your support. Excited for the future.
Awesome, guys. Have a great one. Talk soon.